When I was 18, my parents kicked me out of the house after I got my girlfriend pregnant. To them it was shameful and they completely cut me out of their lives and my family's money. My girlfriend and I managed on our own after my son was born, but it was a struggle for years. We were living paycheck to paycheck and constantly stressed about money. My girlfriend's parents helped out when they could and were the best grandparents to our son. By some miracle, we managed to graduate from college even with work and raising a child. Now we're both 32, been married 6 years, living in our own home with our 13-year-old son and our 4-month-old daughter. I haven't seen or spoken to anyone in my family except my cousins in years. 2 weeks ago my mom sent me a friend request on Facebook and also messaged me. She sent this long message about how she's wanted to talk for a while now and she apologized for the way they treated me. She and my dad were hoping we can make amends because they really want to meet my new daughter and get the chance to be grandparents. She didn't mention my son at all, ask how old he is, how he's doing, or express any interest whatsoever in also wanting to see him, not just my daughter. I messaged her back and vented about all the hardship and obstacles my girlfriend and I had to deal with to get to where we are. And how hard it was that I didn't have my parents' emotional support through what was the most difficult time of my life. Sure, their money would have made things a hell of a lot easier, but I get that money shouldn't be handed to us. But I feel the least they could have done was be there for me instead of erasing me from their lives. I said they don't get to walk back into our lives and I don't want to hear from her again. I blocked her after that. A few days ago, one of my cousins mentioned my parents and said they're telling everyone I'm refusing to let them meet their granddaughter. My cousin knows about everything but he thought it was still petty to be that way when they clearly regret what they did and want to be in my life now and I can't allow a grudge to prevent them from being grandparents. My wife and I talked this over and she feels the same way I do but will support it if I want them around. It really feels like they only care now because we're older and the hard part is over. And honestly, my parents have always been extremely judgmental over everything. They're also very snobby and I'm not 100% sure if that's what I want my kids growing up with. My cousin keeps saying I'm in the wrong here and it's hurting my parents that they'll miss out on my daughter's first year of life by not being around. I'm just a little lost and I don't know if I really am being the bad guy or not. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. They made their feelings known 13 years ago. It's a total idiot move to ask about one child and ignore the other. If you are so inclined, consider meeting with your parents in a public place, sans kids. If they are serious about reconnecting and making amends, they can start with just you and your wife. If that goes well, over time, consider allowing them limited access to kids. Make it perfectly clear that it's a package deal. Either they treat both kids the same, or they see neither child. You're probably better off without them in your life. Not the idiot. Why now? Why only your daughter? I get that people can grow, but in that growth, are they planning to pretend your son is still a shameful secret? Family is more than blood, they are the people who stand by you, with you, and behind you in good and bad times. The fact that your mom immediately went with "woe is me, I'm the victim, they won't let me," etc. to everyone, says a lot to me. She isn't even planning to put in some work to try and heal the rift that she allowed to grow. In case it's unclear, I support your decision 100%. Not the idiot. When anyone brings it up to you that you should make amends, etc., simply tell them the narrative might have played differently if they'd so much as asked about their grandson, even once, during the exchange. They don't get to decide which of your children they're okay with being grandparents to. You and your spouse do get to decide who gets to be a part of your children's lives. I hope, someday, your parents truly realize their mistakes and try to atone for them. My grandfather passed a month ago, shortly after my 21st birthday. My dad left when I was 7, and my mum passed away when I was 11, shortly after my grandma. My granddad took me in straight away despite his age, even though he was still mourning both his wife and daughter. Though still deadly sharp, his physical condition wasn't great in his last few years. I'd express my worry for him sometimes, but he'd always tell me to get lost and assure me he'd see me through till 21. He was the light of my life. When he died, I didn't shed a tear. It's hard for me to explain why, but he was still giving sass on his deathbed and pinched my arm and told me to not cry because he wasn't crying. After I left, I received a text from my aunt later that evening that she was disappointed at me for not being visibly mournful, and apparently him telling me not to was a very poor response. I ignored this since we were all grieving. I didn't return to the house for 3 days to avoid being alone again. When I did return, I found the shelves empty, bits of furniture missing, and photos taken from the walls. I confronted my aunt immediately, who after some arguing returned most of what was taken. Maybe she didn't think I'd notice, but not only had she taken both my granddad's and his dad's service medals, she had sold them as well. Luckily, I found the selling post on Facebook quickly enough, and the man who bought them was happy to return them to me. I refunded man and don't plan on asking my aunt for repayment since I'm just so glad to have them back in the first place. I did not confront my aunt about this. The funeral arrives, and I'm straight away hounded for going through with a cremation. I keep telling her that it was my granddad's decision, not mine, but apparently, this contradicted his Catholic values. I'm an extremely mellow person, but this continued into the gathering afterwards. She told others how selfish I was for not letting her take any of his belongings, and how she thought I pushed him into signing his house over to me. I was soon invited to sit among a table of some of his old friends, at which my aunt was sat too. I tried to not pay her any mind, but the conversation soon devolved, and she slipped up and told the table that I hadn't even let her take a single medal. I lost myself at this and erupted into a slurry of profanities. My aunt immediately starts crying, and I seize moment to call her out on her selling the medals in the first place. I'm not sorry for the things I said to my aunt, but I'm deeply ashamed of my behavior given the setting. Some people have approached me offering support, to which I have not replied, but I have this immense feeling of guilt in my stomach that I can't shake. I know for sure that I overreacted, but am I the idiot? Should I apologize to each attendee individually? I'm in a terrible way at the moment, and my mind is all over the place. I feel like I need someone from the outside to tell me what to do. Not the idiot. I'm so sorry for your loss, but everyone mourns in their own way. Some people react by crying non-stop, others bottle it up and erupt days, weeks, years later. It seems like you are in the latter category, and your reaction to your aunt's behavior definitely cements that. You did as he asked, and her behavior is inappropriate and selfish. You're not an idiot for erupting on her, and honestly, if everyone cares for you, you shouldn't need to apologize, it was a natural reaction. Not the idiot in the slightest. When my mom died, I was 23, I behaved perfectly through some messed up situation similar to what you describe. I didn't allow myself to have an outburst even once. Even when her boyfriend secretly and selfishly scattered her ashes the week before her ceremony, I decided to take the higher route. Years later, I realized that a little outburst wouldn't have only been appropriate and rational, it would have probably been very healing as well. Take care of yourself. Anyone who matters will understand. Not the idiot and holy crap, your aunt is a piece of work. If it were me, I would do everything in my power to ensure she doesn't get a dime out of the estate. Change the locks. Buy security cameras. Set up a no trespassing notice. If you have screenshots of the sale of the medal, take them to the police and have her prosecuted for theft, including the things she hasn't returned. Look for photos of them in the house, etc. Though no contact with her, she has been totally manipulative, dishonest, and you don't need anyone like that in her life. This semester I have a student who just has a lack of motivation and puts in little effort. Her assignments are usually submitted late, but there is nothing in the syllabus that states they can't be turned in late for full credit. The students are also allowed to redo one failed assignment for full credit. She failed her first assignment, and I have reminded her throughout the term that she has to redo it because it's a required assignment to pass the course. She shows up exactly on time or 2 or 3 minutes late for class. Their syllabus states that they must be on time for the clinical portion of class that I teach, or they will be sent home and their absence unexcused. I have not kicked her out when she's been 2 or 3 minutes late because it just seems petty. She has also missed a couple of classes that had to be made up with other clinical experiences to get her required hours. I've discussed this with her course professor and also with a student in her midterm evaluation. She missed her second to last clinical, and I reminded her that she would have to complete that final assignment at her last clinical to pass. She assured me she would. I had a conversation with her classroom professor, who has also been frustrated with a student this term. She had just finally turned in an assignment that was 3 weeks late. I was annoyed by that because she ended up getting the same grade as students who completed it on time. Next semester the syllabus will specify points lost for late assignments. This hasn't historically been an issue. Her course professor had a conversation with her in class last week about her final clinical and that assignment absolutely having to pass or she fails the course. On the last day of clinical, all the students were there, dressed in scrubs, ready for patient rounds, on time. Except for this student who walked in 3 minutes late and not dressed. I said, "You're late and you are not ready. This is unprofessional. You need to leave immediately." So, by making her leave means she fails the course because there is no other chance to make it up and it's final exam week. It also means it delays her graduation by at least 1 semester because she will have to retake that course and can't take a course next term that needs this one as a prereq. At the time I felt very justified in sending her home. She's been given several warnings and multiple breaks with late work. But now I'm feeling kind of like I might have been an idiot in kicking her out knowing it guaranteed her course failure when I've let her stay when she was late in the past. What do you think? She's definitely an idiot and deserves to fail as she's shown no respect for the course, her fellow students, or you. I may be in the minority here, but yeah, I do think you an idiot a little bit because you've enabled her behavior all semester by not sending her out when she was late and could have made up the loss, only choosing to do so for the last one, where it was a certain fail. I get why you did it though, so I can't say you're not an off for doing it, and I'm left with a reluctant everyone's the idiot here, even though I'd probably have done the same. Not the idiot. It sounds like this is a problem that has been discussed with the student. If she had personal issues going on outside of school, she should have brought them up with you so that you could make arrangements or make exceptions for her. Real jobs outside of college will fire people for less, especially in the medical field. It screws that she'll fail, but she also has to learn to meet expectations and fulfill requirements. If nothing has been brought up by her as to why she can't, there's nothing you can do. Not the idiot. Shame on the people saying you are. You are not obligated to hold anybody's hand here. She is a college senior. If you let this stuff slide in past her, that means she would likely be taking this mentality and work ethic with her into future employment. People need to stop just giving out passes because you don't know what they are going through. That argument only goes so far. No matter what she's going through, if she shows up to work unprepared or late when it matters, a patient could suffer the consequences. When I was a child, my dad built me a dollhouse. It was lovely. He worked so hard on it, everything was so detailed, down to the toothbrushes, light switches, etc. In my opinion, it's a piece of art. I took care of it very well, and he even installed a sliding plastic door with a lock on it so I could protect it from my more destructive little sister. I moved out and the dollhouse stayed at my mom's. Now my mom has grandkids, my sister's kids, and they have destroyed it. A bunch of pieces is missing, the lights have been torn out, the carpet and curtains have been torn up, the chimney is broken, etc. When I saw it, I was hurt at how destroyed this incredible gift from my now deceased father was. So I decided to take it back to my house to fix it and keep it safe. My sister noticed when she took the kids to my mom's and it was gone, so she asked me about it. She asked if she could have it or at least bring it back to mom's because her kids play with it. I didn't want to start a big uproar, so I tried to kindly explain that I wanted to keep it preserved how dad made it. I told her the kids can play with it when they are at my house, but they needed to get better about taking care of it and not messing everything up. She got really mad and said, "Oh my god, it's a freaking dollhouse. It's supposed to be played with. I'm not bringing my kids over so you can critique their playtime. Am I the idiot for wanting to preserve the dollhouse our father made?" Not the idiot, your sister should teach her children to have respect for borrowed things. Kids are destructive, it happens, but parents can, if they put in the time and effort, teach them manners and to understand the importance of taking care of others' things, even if its original purpose was meant to be played with. I'd restore it and keep it at my own home. And if she's still bickering about it, send her links to Etsy. There are tons of carpenters that build dollhouses on there that would love the commission. Not the idiot. Your sister has no regard for what that dollhouse means to you or what belongs to you. When you were kids you said you did things to stop her from destroying it. Of course, her children are going to be even worse. Couple that with her being mad at you for not letting them play with it after they obviously destroyed parts of it. How does she not give a crap about something that her late father made? Or do you not share parents? Is her name Karen? She sounds like a Karen. Not the idiot. It's your dollhouse and yours to do with as you please. Kids can break things, I get that, but this is a special, sentimental piece, a gift from your dad. What's even more upsetting is that this would have been a great occasion to teach them about the importance of caring for borrowed things, especially something that's very special to someone else. Kids play and break things, sure, but as the parent, it's important to teach them about things like that. I'll preface by saying I'm also a college student. I worked my butt off to get a scholarship to my dream school and am paying $4,000 a semester to live on campus. I'm a night owl, but purposefully chose a dorm that's known for being quiet at night because I like my peace. Yesterday, at midnight, maybe a bit earlier, I decided to turn in. I still scroll my phone, but other than that, it's quiet. People started getting rowdy outside, yelling, laughing, and carrying on. I'm on the fourth and top floor of the building and can hear them, including hearing some of their conversations clearly. This normally happens on a Friday night as loud drunken goodbyes, whatever. 30 minutes later, they're still going. Apparently, they were celebrating some guy's birthday, but he and some of his friends seemed to leave around 12:30 and it became primarily female voices. At 1 a.m. it was still going on, so I decided to go downstairs and talk to them. I went out to one of the three groups of people, they were the closest one to me, and the conversation goes as follows. Note, there were other comments at the same time, some derogatory, telling me to go somewhere, or calling me names. These are just the ones I paid attention to. Hey girls, can I ask a question? What is it? I was wondering if you ladies could quiet down a bit. It sounds like you're celebrating something, and I'm happy for y'all, but me and some others are trying to sleep, and we can hear you. Which is true, I have a group text with my floor mates. I don't see how that's our problem. Go to sleep then. We ain't stopping you. Well, I'm on the top floor and I can hear you all down here. So? Would you come talk to us? Talk to someone else down here. We ain't even the ones making noise. I was planning on doing so, you ladies were just the closest to the door. Go talk to someone else with that BS, we don't care. Finally, another girl pipes up saying, there was another group out here that was being really loud, but they just left. Oh, okay, thank you. That's all the information I needed. Thank you for being helpful. And I left. At this point, some of them were getting hostile, and I was starting to shake from anxiety. One followed me back to the entrance of the building calling me names and saying she wasn't gonna quiet down and there wasn't a thing I could do about it. Here's where I may be an idiot. I called the cops. I went home and heard the same volume of noise. Actually, it was louder. They were just screaming now, I'm sure because of me going down there. I waited about 5 minutes, and they're still loud, so I called the cops. He came up, talked to me, then went down there to disperse the crowd. And all was silent. I got a few thank you from others on my floor who could hear them, but I also feel bad, because I know they're also just college students like me trying to have a good time. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You ask them to be quiet. Depending on where you live, you may have laws on the books that prohibit noise of a certain level, measured in decibels, past certain hours. The university I attended certainly did, although this was decades ago. It was considered, during my time, to be common courtesy to either quiet down at midnight or take it someplace else, like the beach or a bar, if you were going to keep going that late. Not the idiot. It might be iffy if you just called the cops on them with no warning. I've had the cops called on me and my friends for noise complaints and we were like petrified, cause we're all super paranoid, super cautious people, like if we knew we were being loud we would have shut up and gone inside. But for them to tell you to your face that they will be as loud as they want and to call you names, that's cause for police involvement.